Good morning, friends. I had been for a long drive yesterday. Yes, surveillance was there, but there's a difference between good surveillance and bad surveillance. Surveillance with our knowledge and which we accept, or which is like when we feel yes, God is watching us, so that's good surveillance, where we are not afraid of God, or we trust God. And so that kind of surveillance, you have you are alert within yourself, your internal GPS system is on. But when the other kind of surveillance that we see, like CCTVs, and then the fear manifests of, and so we are always on the caution, we are cautious of what we should do and what we should not do, and in that process we dim our internal GPS. That was what had happened yesterday when I realized the difference in that kind of surveillance, and I was very present, in the sense I knew it when the although I had dozed off. Immediately I knew when the direction changed, or when it went into the when the route went on the wrong direction, and I was able to immediately course correct. So, so, so yesterday's experience was multifarious, in the sense that I got a good dose of lessons in human behavior, in the banking processes. I mean, how the systems work in banks, and how a driver approaches his job, or how do we navigate through the uh, traffic ridden roads as well as empty roads. So there's a lot coming in today's package. In the At the end of the day, when I received a phone call, I remembered about my book Hayagriva, the Guru of Goddess Saraswati. Remember that I had mentioned that the somewhere where I had read that you carry the vibration of the name that you have influences your vibration. So that made me go into the research into the name of Saraswati. But it is the vibration of what you embody that influences even the name. So it's not the other way around. So when I went to do that research, so I did a lot of research on Goddess Saraswati, and then I realized that Goddess Saraswati was not a goddess for teaching. She is a goddess of learning. She herself is a goddess of learning. So the sloka that we chant for getting blessed by Goddess Saraswati is Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade. Here again, Kamarupini it is mentioned, but there are two meanings. Let me read the whole sloka first. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Mesada, which means that, O Goddess Saraswati, our prostration to you, Namastubhyam, Varade, bless us, grant us the blessings, and Kama Rupini. Kama Rupini is also that Kama, the word Kama is love or lust. When carried to extreme, it is lust. But Kama also means desires. One who bestows desires. So the form of the goddess who bestows our desires, Vidyarambam Karishyami. I am beginning my learning process. Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Always, may all my efforts be successful, fulfilled, or accomplished. So this is the sloka that is chanted when the child is initiated into studies or learning in India, a little sort of an initiation process. This combines along with giving the name to the child. Well, the some of the lessons in driving that I And by the way, this Saraswati, as there are a couple of stories where Saraswati becomes the wife of Brahma. That's the interpretation. Although initially Saraswati was the daughter of Brahma. Saraswati is the Manasa Putri of Brahmadeva, Brahma, the creator. So here it's mentioned, there is a in the chapter 35 in that book, how this goddess altered the course of the river. Now initially Brahmadeva had sent Saraswati as the river Saraswati, and when until the time she flowed in the north western region, that is the present beyond Rajasthan, Pakistan, and that northern northwestern belt. So here, then she disappeared from there. But then there are several instances in the literary works highlighting the fact that all success and prosperity are showered on those who bow down to goddess Saraswati. In Tamil, it is called Arulvani, that is the one who is blesses with her words. Two literary giants were called, this is a story, two great authors, literary giants, Ilansurian and Mudusurian, got together on the banks of the river Pennayatru in the Shivakshetra of Tiruvamattur and sang. In this, they had mentioned that the temple is located on the western banks of the river. They were there used to be times when they used to actually compete with each other through singing. One phrase is sung, another phrase is sung by the other, just like in Kawali. In fact, it is on the the argument was, in fact, it is on the eastern banks of the river that the temple is located. So during the inaugural presentation of the Sthala Puranam, that is the history of that place, those who were in the know of the location questioned them as to how you sing that the temple is on the western banks of the river while it is on the eastern banks of the river. Is it a mistake? So naturally, authors have a responsibility. When you say something, you're questioned on that. So they were also questioned. They expressed their disagreement. So Goddess Saraswati lives on our tongues. So her words are what we write. Therefore, we are not responsible what we sing. Kalaimagal does not lie. We are not responsible to what we sing. It is Saraswati who resides on our tongues, and she is who's saying it. So Kalaimagal does not lie. Kalaimagal means the goddess of arts, the daughter of arts, so she does not lie. They argued. That night, a miracle happened. It rained heavily. Due to the intensity of the rains, the river changed its course and started flowing in a different direction. Now, the temple is in the western banks. Considering the dilemma of the scholars in one night, the one who could have changed the course of the river is only the gracious Mother Kalaivani, Goddess Saraswati, is what is revealed by this incident. What the deeper meaning here is, if you are so honest, if you are so truthful, what you say will become a reality. For that, you need utter purity of your Vishuddhi chakra, and Vishuddhi, and the mind itself, the entire conscious matter should be so pure and so blessed, divine, that what you say will become true. So, that's what is indicated by this argument between two poets some years ago in Tamil Nadu. That actually that temple which was existing, overnight it changed because the river changed the course. An example of this is also the poet Kalamegam. He says that we need, by what we Kalamegam was one poet from whom poetry flowed like a perennial river due to the blessings of Kalaivani. Once listening to others, the king of Tirumalai, instead of honoring him like the other scholars, in those days in the courts there used to be arguments and discussions between scholars and competition also in presenting their art, literary art. So instead of reserving us, in this king of Tirumalai, instead of honoring him like the other scholars, insulted him. Instead of reserving a seat for him, he made him to sit on the floor with the others, means the rest of the audience, with the intention of humiliating him. But will Kalaimagal allow her son to be insulted in a congregation of scholars? Certainly not, isn't it? So, understanding that the king is insulting him, the poet Kalamegam, he prayed to goddess Kalaivani. That is, Kalaivani is the goddess of arts, Saraswati. He said, Vellai Kalai Udutti, Vellai Pani Pundu, Vellai Kamalate, வீற்றிருப்பாள் வெள்ளை அரி ஆசனத்தில் அரசரோடு என்னை சரி ஆசனம் வைத்து தாய். He prayed to the goddess saying, the goddess who of pure arts, who bows down to art itself, who is wearing a white robes, who's seated on a white lotus, may that Vellai Ari Asanatil, that is the one who is seated on a throne of a white sword. The sword is hanging on the air. That kind of place is the king's throne. Please bless me that I am equal to him. He prayed that way. Immediately, spontaneously, a poem came out. Immediately, the throne on which the king was seated grew a little in height on one side. Kalamegam went next to the king and sat down comfortably there. The people and the king, when they saw this, realized their mistake and honored the great poet who was truly blessed by the goddess Kalaivani. Again, goddess Saraswati is often drawn parallels, or at least the parallel is drawn between Sarah, wife of Abraham, in the Jewish community, where I had read this book, the stone edition of the Torah, and when I had ordered this book, I didn't know about it, but a school friend of mine was speaking to me on the phone, and he mentioned that he said, you should read this book. I said, give me the link where I can get it, and he sent me the link of this, and so I ordered it. It took some good 2 weeks or 3 weeks to come, and finally the day it landed, I opened up the wrap. This is a good leather edition, complete, like really a holy book with all gold on the edges. And so with great reverence, I opened the book, I opened the wrap, and the moment I held it, and I just opened the book, and yes, I opened it the wrong way, and the moment I opened it the other way, a kind of energy came out of the book, and it sort of stunned me, threw me back, and I closed the book, and I went back, and after some time I started reading the book. And this goes from the back you have to read. It's, although there is both it's there in Hebrew as well as in English, both the commentary is also there. So when I started reading a good amount, about say 40-50 pages, and then that was about 2 days, and just 2 days after I started, the war broke up. The Gaza was attacked by um, Hamas. They came and attacked with the parachutes, and this I realized after some time, and then I continued reading. I thought, okay, I might get some prayers for this to pray. Then the story started revealing itself, and I found that Sarah was a wife of Abraham, and how for a long, long time they had no children, and then and all the entire story revealed itself. Finally, as I proceeded deeper into the book, I found that it was, I think, after the age of 82 or something, she got a son, and later. Um, Later, actually, when she died, she converted herself into a river. So that's where the comparison of Saraswati, who also was a river goddess Saraswati, and this that made me further deeper into this subject, how that is related, and how we pray to goddess Saraswati, and how this river thing came about. And then I was wondering whether the oceans separated in the Indian Ocean got separated because of somewhere at that point of time historically. That's when I went back into history. I found that this was 8,000 to 9,000 years ago, when Abraham and got that heavenly pronouncement and everything. And whereas goddess Saraswati was there long ago, already in as a river, from the Vedic periods, and so then that's what there was a comparison in my own understanding and learning, how these comparisons were drawn, and how things happened and things like that. And another thing when I noticed was there is one sloka of goddess Saraswati, when you say Ya kundendu tushara haradavala, ya shubhra vastravrata, ya veena varadanda manditahara, ya shveta padmasana, ya brahmachara shankara prabhradabhi devai sada vandita, samam patu Saraswati bhagavati nishesha jatyapa. This spontaneously, while reading the book, this sloka came into my mind. And because I was reading there are some words of Hebrew also, whose meaning is given in the commentary. So when I started splitting it that way, now ya kun dendu, ya has a certain meaning, kundendu. So when instead of splitting the Sanskrit sloka, understanding the Sanskrit meaning of the sloka, when I tried to split out the syllables or the consonants according to the Hebrew language, I found that the same sloka which is given as for goddess Saraswati, it is indicated that one who converted herself into her river, and the meaning is totally different. Whereas when in Sanskrit, it has a different meaning. We'll deal on that subject a little some other time. But I found how that same sloka, when the letters or alphabets are split in Hebrew and Sanskrit, it means different things, and referring to the historical context of the Jewish goddess and the Hindu goddess. Yes, that's a leap from one section to another. And coming to again how I came back home. While coming back, I had an interesting driver for me, who normally on these long drives to Bombay, usually it's a place where you can you can really be with yourself. There's nobody to talk to. There is stillness. All you are in silent mode, and you can enjoy the beautiful nature, the mountains and the greenery all around, and there's nothing to disturb, and so you're transported into a almost a samadhi like state. But on my way back, this driver was a chatterbox. Like, I mean, he was on and on. And he had a very humorous way of speaking the Marathi language. So I enjoyed thoroughly every word that he spoke, and his understanding of driving itself. He says, I will always keep my right lane. See the driver, the others, they go from this lane, the left lane to the second lane to the even up to the lane of the lorries, which are meant for the heavy vehicles. So then I told him that see today there's not much traffic around, so there's no harm, and there are no lorries also in that lane, so there is no harm in the shifting to the left lane. There are 4 lanes. So and besides, I also explained to him according to the traffic rules, the lines that are drawn demarking the lanes on the highway are broken, and those the brakes in those bar on that line, it indicates that the vehicle can move to the left lane. Of course, the indications, and that's a different matter, giving the indication to the vehicle behind, and those are not taught, that is learnt in driving. So with that, you can move on to this lane. But he was adamant. He said, no, that last lane is for the lorries, for the heavy vehicles, and we will not go there until we need to go there. Means either you have to take an exit from there or so. So that then I also said yes. So in a way, what you were saying was right. And besides, but then I also was, while indicating the lane to his right. In India, the drivers drive on the right, means seated on the right. So on his right hand side, the marking was thick and single. That is, there's no breaks in between, and that was next to the divider. That's a lane you don't cross. Means that indicates the stiff white lane that's without unbroken line of demarcation is a line where you don't cross to the right. Now, this morning when I was reflecting on of our conversation before the last evening, I realized, and also when I saw some video, they were on the video on YouTube, I saw that they were there, the driving was to the left. So when you drive to the left, you have that is your left hand drive, then how your mental adjustments happen. I remember my sister, before going, she had learned driving here, because she knew that because she used to see a lot of videos and stuff, so she used to know that she would have to go there and drive. But so she learned car driving here, but also she had to go and take a license there again, because here it is a right hand drive and there is a left hand drive. So probably she had to adjust a lot, and I don't know what is it that all that we had to adjust. But coming to think of it, because I've never been and I don't know, but coming to think of it, here we have our brake on the left leg, and the accelerator on the right leg, right? So if it's the same thing there also, the car is the same, because the vehicle, what is manufactured abroad is also imported, so that system may not be different. So the car functioning, I understand, I hope I'm right, that understanding that the car itself will be functioning in the same way. So there will be a brake on the left and the accelerator on the right. Now, when you have a right hand drive and a left hand drive, how does it change? Right hand is for action, left hand is for emotion. So, When you have an emotion, you put the brake, and uh, when you when you want to act, when you are perturbed. But then here, left side functions with the right brain, and the right side functions with the left brain. When that happens, your right brain is your emotional brain, left brain is your logical thinking brain. So, when a logical thinking brain thinks, it knows when to act, when not to act, when the decision is taken, when not decision not taken. So, when that brain is instructing, then naturally the action, you will take that kind of action. And when your action is right hand action, an action is by the right side. So, and when you do the driving, because there are many people who, everybody almost drives, right? So, and everybody compares their lifestyle or the way they operate with the vehicle that they drive, and they are so identified with that vehicle that the condition of the vehicle literally influence their mindset. So how polished it is, or how expensive it is, or how cushiony it is, how it's decorated on the interior, and its color and its price, and n number of things. So when it becomes opposite, in not in sync with your body mechanics, how does it impact on the outside? Think a little bit on this, and you will notice that when you are influenced by your right brain, when you are emotional, or you are thinking about your past or something, and you're supposed to put your brake, but you are not putting the brake, you're stepping on the accelerator, because action is accelerator. Action comes on the left leg. So you aggravate things rather than control things. So this push and pull of the opposite nature of the human energetic system, the subtle energy system in the body, acts in contradictory to the rules made in your driving of your car. The vehicle is the same, but the place where, that is the operating system, that is operating system in the sense the regulating system, it's different. It's in contrast, means completely in contrast. So there is a conflict of a gigantic scale when that takes a leadership position in the operations in the world. It's just like you have a Windows operating system, and that's an operating system of the computer. Applications are all made by the application software by different people from across the world. And application software is what we use, though Windows operating system, the ROM, the read-only memory, is permanent, or it is fixed once and for all. But what if the application software decides to have an operating system that suits it, that suits the application software? Because both are clashing. Get that? So we need to understand the mechanics in totality, and particularly those occupying at the higher positions, CEOs, CFOs, COOs, or the research, the decision makers at of the research findings, and the policy makers and leaders, whose decisions or whose actions can impact millions of people, billions and trillions of money, and thus very environment in which we live. Think about that. See you later. Thank you so much.